Welcome back to the Virgo channel. My name is Laura. If you're new to the channel, I'm going to do a general message for Virgo. Know that energy is fluid. Roles could be reversed. Always interpret the message as it best resonates. Also know on this channel, I like to dive deep within the reading, so I do look at everything, but we take time to look at the spiritual blocks, the shadows, and see how they play out as karmic themes. This will allow you to understand why everything's playing out the way that it is, meaning why is your person acting the way that they are? Why are you attracting that person? What's the whole point to the whole connection and what you could possibly do to shape shift the reality that's playing out. All right, now if you want to enter into winning a free reading with me, you have to, number one, be open to getting a shadow reading because part of your reading is going to be a shadow reading. You'll also have to want to be open to getting it live. I believe in spiritual law, what's best for everyone. So you get the free reading, I get to expose the channel, and whoever else resonates with the reading, well, they're going to get benefit from it. So if you want your reading private, you'll have to send me questions the day before or just not enter into winning a free reading, because you don't want to get it live. All right. So I just always like to put that out there. You don't have to worry about getting on because I'll send you the link the day of your reading or the night before your reading, and that's when you can actually send me your questions back so that I will take a look at them and be able to channel all the information for you that's needed. And it would be private because I never mention the person's name that wins ever, just because, it's private, I mean, a lot of times people have, their email address or a fake name up on there. So, no one really knows who you are unless they happen to be stalking out the channel too and happen to know, who you are by your stage name or your email name. So that's why I do it that way. Like I said, very rarely are you dealing with people that know who you are through your email. All right, let's see. What is the word of the video? Again, you'll also have to like the video and subscribe to the channel, aside from writing the word in your video. And by the way, my email and all other important information is in the description box if you need it. So the word of the video is permissive, permissive. So you're in separation with someone that's acting like they don't care, that they're in separation from you. That's the energy. So I feel like they're actually not doing anything. And the irony is that they're not doing anything and they think that it's triggering you that to the point that is going to make you like come to them. And really at this point, it's like now you don't care because they're playing this stonewall game with you. Like they're holding out, using time and distance as a way to hopefully make you become subservient to what they want. And what they want is for you to come to them. They don't want to go to you, even though this person knows that they were wrong. Even though, and it's because they don't want to relinquish they don't want to rehash what has gone on in the past, what they did in the past. They don't want to relinquish like too much information. So this is why they're holding back. They do want to talk to you, but they're taking the route of I'm acting like I don't care. So I'm not putting any time, I'm not putting any effort, and I'm acting as if everything's okay, even though I don't believe that this person feels that everything's okay. So when you were dealing with this person, let's get some of the energy out. And they drained you. They trained you. I feel like you were weary, and you were weary because it's like you did not feel emotionally safe with this person. I feel like this person doesn't really know what they want. They were always trying to get over on you. That's what made you feel like weary. Is again, you felt like you were always being gaslit. You've always felt like what does this person want from me? Do they want to be in a relationship? Do they not want to be in a relationship? Why are they holding back from me? Why are they not being transparent with me? Like I said, someone that tried to, be in a relationship without actually connecting to you emotionally. And I feel like that's your language. Like if a person makes you feel emotionally safe, then you're going to open up. But because this person didn't, you always felt like you're always trying to strategize. You're always trying to get over on me. I feel like you leave, things out of your conversation. You keep the conversation very surface. You talk about things that are irrelevant, like that I wouldn't care about, like what you ate for dinner, or cleaning out your basement, like doing things that are irrelevant you're talking to me about, but we're not building any emotional connection. The relationship's not going deep, and which is what you're purposely not letting me form an emotional connection. And if you're doing that, but you're still holding on to me, you want something from me. And it made you feel as if you were out of sync with this person. That it just wasn't a good fit because it almost felt like you were always trying to force a conversation, get this person to talk. And I feel like you said something to them and they would say no. They wanted you to talk to them about yourself. They're used to dating people, or again, coming on to people. I shouldn't even say date because I don't feel like this person dates. I feel like they go in and out of relationships. So their way is to give someone attention, but give them very superficial attention. And then the person that they connect to usually tells them all about themselves. And so I don't believe that that's what you were doing. So that's why the relationship, the connection was felt like it was like stagnant. It was out of sync. It was just not like there's a flow. You can feel an emotional connection. You can feel when you have good chemistry with someone. You felt like that, you were not having good chemistry with this person because they're keeping it surface. They're trying to get over on you. They're trying to manipulate you. They're not going deep. They're purposely not being transparent. So you're like you want to talk to me, but you want me to tell you everything about myself, and I don't really feel comfortable in telling you everything about myself because you knew on some level, like it just made you feel uncomfortable, but you knew on some level that this person would use what you would tell them against you. Now, not in trying to manipulate you into hurting you, but manipulating you into making you feel as if they really had a strong connection with you by saying, "Oh yeah, I'd like to do that too." Or later on in a relation in a talk that they would say, "Yeah, like I like to go mountain climbing too." If you had told them, "Yeah, I went mountain climbing with a friend yesterday and we went here and we did this," that they would again use that information to create some sort of like an emotional connection, but the emotional connection would be built on bullshit because they never went mountain climbing before. They would just get it, like recycling the information that you gave back to them. And that's what you felt. You were like, I don't feel safe in this connection because you won't go deep. Don't mind my dogs in the background. Okay. I had to get the dogs out of the room because they were getting loud. All right. Look at that deck. I want to pull from this deck. So this person just wouldn't form an emotional connection that was actually deep enough for you to actually feel safe, bonded to. You understood what this person was doing without them doing it because your intuition kept saying, why does this person not tell me anything? I still don't know anything really about this person. And why did they just sit there and they listen to me talk? And I'm not telling them anything of any depth. And I feel like that's why the relationship was out of sync. You never told them anything that they could use against you. Like you talked about work, possibly. You talked about things that they wouldn't be able to talk about because they had no reference to. And so the relationship just kind of crumbled. It just never, there was nothing to hold the relationship on, like, to. So you're like, well, I'm not going to go any deeper. I don't really feel safe, but I don't really understand what this person's issue is. Like, why I feel like there was a connection, but this person actually ruined the connection by not going deep, by not forming that emotional connection, by keeping it surface, where I realized that they were just trying to get over on me, trying to deceive me, trying to get me to give them something. Like, and most likely that something would be like physical contact, not an emotional connection, a physical connection. And not for a long time, but for a good time is what you were feeling. Because you're like, why would somebody like sit there and talk to me and not really have a conversation, but keep coming back to keep doing it. They're acting as if they're holding space. They're actually acting as if they're feeding the relationship, where you're like, this is the only connection that I have, that you come in and I literally feel less when you leave, like it's like you're actually draining to me, like weary. You're making me feel like your negative energy. That's what you felt like. You're like, if this person's starting to make like a low vibe is what you felt. And you didn't really understand why they were coming in. But let's see. Well, they have addictions, so they're not good, number one, with the emotional connection. This is this person's way of having a conversation. Feel like people that have addictions feel inadequate. They feel as if there's something wrong with them, that they actually need something to be whole, to function. And in this person's when it comes to relationships, they have a block. And so that block makes them feel as if they need to drink in order to feel like, to have courage to actually open up, to have any type of conversation. So this person, again, yes, does like to keep it surface because they don't know like how to deal with all the emotions, and they don't really feel as if they can have a good relationship, because people that have addictions don't have good relationships. They have codependent relationships. Yeah, they were imbalanced because of that spiritual block, and obviously because of the addictions. They just feel as if they're inadequate. So this is the way that they try to open up. This is the way that they go about having relationships. They've never had a normal relationship. They've only had codependent relationships. So are they deceiving? Yes, but they feel like they need to be that way in a connection, because connections tend to be very codependent. So one person always has the power and the other person doesn't. One person's always the victim and one person's always the more dominant. This is what they know. This is what they've lived. This is what they see. So part of them is coming in very guarded, but they do have feelings. This is why they keep coming back. They're not giving you anything on a deep level, however. So, most people don't care that they've dealt with. This person comes in and they have, that surface relationship. After the first or second time, a person that's very busy, a person that's full of life and they're losing themselves in their passions, wouldn't give time to this. And that's really what it is. It's like at the time that you met this person, I feel like you gave this person too much time. So they thought that you were just as imbalanced as they were, okay? Because they're like, I'm not really giving you anything. I feel like you waited it out because you could feel that there was a connection, but you're like, eventually this person's going to open up to me. Eventually they're going to tell me something. Or maybe I need to go about it this way. Or maybe I need to, again, try and lead the conversation. I feel like you tried to work with whatever they gave you, but they didn't give you much. And they actually have been in relationships where people have tried to like manipulate information out of them. So they knew what you were doing, so they actually shut down more. And so it created such an imbalance within the relationship, because you're like, I need to have an emotional connection. You're not going deep. And if you're not going deep, then you want to be here for a good time, not a long time. And that's not the type of relationship that I want. So I feel like because of that, you walked away. Yeah, this person, I feel like, see, this is contracts. And so this person feels a very strong emotional connection to you. However, they're only used to these codependent relationships that wind up in contracts. And I feel like that's what has made them feel really inadequate because contracts are not good. They bind you to that inner child wound that they grew up with, right? So they grew up with very codependent parents where one parent had addictions, the other parent was the fixer, the healer. And so they actually recreate that same dynamic that they grew up in. So we have to ask why you connected to this person. And normally I would pull more cards to be like, oh, like what is this person going to do? But what we see already here is it's not even worth it to go further because it's again, this person is draining and they're draining because again, it's a contract. They have addictions. It's again, they're very codependent. So you'll always feel out of sync because this person will always deceive. So the relationship will never work because it's imbalanced. It'll always wind up crumbling. And that, so like I said, normally I would say, oh, what is this person thinking? What are they doing? Well, this is the type of relationship that they want. So I'm not going to like pull anymore because you have free will to choose whether you want to be with this person or not. But this is the dynamic that they're used to living. Will they ever change? No. Impulsiveness. And they're always in a place of victimhood. And no, they have, like, they would have to change their old habits into new habits. And this person, because they feel inadequate, would always put themselves into competition with you. Again, you trigger them jealousy because you're full of life. You don't have problems in your relationships. You're a giver, you're a doer, you're a high achiever. So again, this person is coming from a real place of victimhood and again is always looking for a savior. They would always want you to conform. So no. But I do believe that you must have grown up in a similar situation, and forgiveness is essential with this person, even though it's might be something that's really difficult to do because you're like, well, we had a very strong connection, and then like they are, just they're just committed to living this way. And it's like, yeah, they are, because it's easier for them to live by their impulses. Again, really, when a person has a lot of wounds, what happens is that they get triggered a lot and they live by their addictions until they can actually integrate the spiritual lesson and replace it, really transmute that energy. And transmutation is not just integrating the spiritual lesson, realizing that they're not inadequate, that they need to go back to heal their inner childhood wounds so that they can then become themselves, right? Because this person is still too much of the past. They're still carrying around so much baggage from the past that they haven't created themselves. And a person that hasn't fully created themselves, well, they're always going to feel inadequate. They're always going to not feel like they can connect with someone because what connects people to each other are hobbies and interests and passions and just getting out there and interacting. And this is not what this person does. This person lives more by their lower energies. They want to be in a very codependent relationship. They want to live by their addictions. They want to drink and isolate themselves and live more by their impulses, which is bad because it means it's very sporadic and also very bipolar, because it depends on the day. And also you don't get good outcomes from living a life like this. And it would bind you to, again, like a lot of negative energy. We're going to see, but again, if for you to attract this type of person, it means that you have inner child wounds, that you were affected by somebody that would have had codependency tendencies and make you not feel safe. Well, discipline. Now, if you grew up in a place of survival, you wouldn't be disciplined. What happens is that kids that grow up in a place of survival, they look for their emotional support through outside things also. So we see already, that energy. Now, I feel like what happened is that this person pushed you into becoming more disciplined, and that's how you integrated the spiritual lesson through your crafts and creativity. And so creativity is your passions, your interests, and they grew and they helped you become yourself. And you were optimistic. You've always been optimistic. That's a gift, right? No matter where you were in life, you always knew that life was going to get better. And that's what this person sees. And that's what this person is attracted to you about. They're like, wow, you're someone that's full of life, full of passion. Like it's almost like opposites attract, only in this situation, it's this person's wounded. They don't have those gifts. Where I'm not saying they don't have any gifts. They're probably someone that's very good in business, very analytical, someone that's very structured, but they're not, someone that leads with their heart. Where here it is, you are someone that leads with your heart. So we see like an empath and narcissist type of dynamic here. Somebody that is emotionally not intelligent, that wants to stay in a place of victimhood, that wants to manipulate the situation where they are the more dominant person so that they get their emotional needs met, that they get all their needs met, actually, where you wouldn't get your needs met at all. And I feel like even though you might have grown up where you didn't get your emotional needs met at all, you were able to escape and you escaped into your hobbies, your interests, and connecting to different people. And this is why you are always able to stay optimistic. Space. And this is a great card because you see this space, it means that we can create anything in it. Where Spirit says this was a karmic that you would have been bound to a contract because that's what this person is stuck in, a contract. And you would, if you went in to be the fixer, the healer, well, now you wind up being stuck in a contract. And you were like, no, you put the energy into yourself. And if you haven't, that Spirit says the way to heal this is to, again, pour into yourself. All this space is, you're not your wounds. You're not your past. In a way to actually recondition your mind, to create new neurological pathways within your mind so that you're not impulsive and reacting from, those old wounds, like this is what that person does. It's to create new memories, to become yourself. You get the story of who you think you are because you're born into a family that you inherit these contracts and you inherit karma and you inherit all the behaviorisms and habits and codependency issues and everything else, which are those karmic contracts and karma. And life is about integrating those, healing those, and really becoming yourself. You can't get rid of that negative energy. However, you can transmute that negative energy into something more positive, to channel it into purpose, where that's what you did. You channeled it into your creativity. And again, within this space, because again, you're not your wounds. This person's still wearing their wounds like their armor. Still live in the contract. And it's a good thing that you didn't see it because, it would definitely stunt whatever you were creating. And it's because you were belittled. again, you were emotionally not given. You emotionally didn't feel safe. So again, you're not what somebody else calls you or tells you. So, and I feel like you always knew that. Again, though the trauma definitely would make you not be as disciplined as creating yourself. So it was almost like spirit needed to bring you back into a very similar situation again, so that this karmic theme could play out, so that you can then say, I don't want this. I don't want to be bound. I recognize exactly what that is, that that's a codependent relationship. And I grew up in that, where because I grew up in that, my parents couldn't give enough to me. They made me feel inadequate because they felt inadequate because they were, again, bound to a karmic contract. So I don't want to wind up in a karmic contract. You're not going to make me feel less than what I am. You're not going to make me feel inadequate. That's what you feel. That's why you have addictions. It's like, but you're not going to belittle me. So spirit says, no, instead, what you did is you transmuted that negative energy into purpose. And I think we get to pull one more, and that's to find your laughter, to again give you joy, to raise your energy, again, which is the opposite energy if you wind up with someone in a karmic contract. So being in a karmic contract is not going to bring you joy, it's not going to bring you happiness, not going to bring you laughter. It's going to bind you to feeling inadequate, making you feel that you're not good enough, and really shaming you. And I feel like that's what you saw, but it wasn't your story. It was your parents' story. And it was one that bound both your parents to a place of pain. And because of that, you said, oh, I recognize this. I recognize it by this person's addictions, where this person is like, yeah, I have feelings, but their way of having feelings is all about dominance and control and recreating that contract because that's what's familiar, that's what's comfortable, because it puts them like in the king seat, the ego, right? One person's dominant. So one person's getting all their needs met while the other person is miserable. And so, of course, they're more comfortable. They want to live more by their ego. They don't want to live by the spirit part of self. So, spirit brought you into their life also as a way to awaken, but they just choose not to. And we have free will, where that's where spirit says you're not supposed to be with this person. It's like because they would bind you to, again, that pain and that suffering, but you have to still transmute that negative energy. Otherwise, you're just going to attract more of the same type people because you don't fully learn the lesson until you embody that spiritual lesson. We have to embody it. That's why we're in physical form. We have to get to that consciousness by actually living that reality. Self-love, where spirit's like, if you would have chosen this person, they would have made you feel not good enough. And they would have just kept you in a place of, again, drained, feeling very negative, very weary, just like, drained because you're not getting anything emotionally back. And that's how you grew up because, again, of that trauma. And so Spirit says it was all about giving yourself self-love, choosing you. So this is, I attend to you, to my needs. This is what Spirit wants you to say to yourself. Again, the healing antidote, which is what this full story was about. Why did you attract this person? It was not just to break the karmic cycle, the ancestral cycle, saying it stops with me, but also to transmute that energy by again giving yourself self-love, where you're also channeling it into purpose. So this is, I attend to my own needs by listening to my heart. My inner essence lets me know what is good for me. I respect my limits. I answer the requests of my body and soul. Thus, I learn to love myself. So Spirit says, you grew up in that same toxic environment. So you didn't have love. So this is one way of giving yourself self-love. You used to try to get love by being the fixer, by being the healer, because Again, you grew up in a codependent home where that's what you were taught because you watched one person do it for another person, but then the person that was doing it for the other person didn't have enough love, didn't have enough time to nurture you. If anything, they were angry because they weren't getting their needs met. So you didn't get that love from that parent. That's what it felt like. It didn't mean that the parent didn't love. They did the best that they could do. But that spirit says, well, you needed to learn to do that yourself. That's an inside job. The illusion is that it's an outside job. But if you don't love yourself, no one's going to, again, be able to love you. So I'm going to leave that there, Virgo. You let me know how you resonated with this one, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.